Do not go diving on the North Shore. The boat traffic is crazy. Being so close to Auckland's harbour, there is no viz. Any of the fish we're shooting have long since gone. And it's probably one of the most polluted marine environments in all of New Zealand. Right? Surely. Over the course of my journey, I've seen some wonderful places. But if I could only ever dive one coast for the rest of my life, there would be little hesitation. Would you believe me if I said that Auckland's North Shore is my favourite place to dive? The Hauraki Gulf is my Moana. Rangitoto is my Maunga. This is my home. Do you seriously think that the North Shore, some of New Zealand's most popular beaches, have any potential at all? The North Shore is in the shadow of New Zealand's most populated city, Auckland. In spite of so many things working against it, nature perseveres, and so do I. The spearfishing is genuinely more challenging than anywhere else I have been. Over my first year of spearfishing, I was pretty fortunate to tick off some cool fish, boarfish, snappers, kingfish, etc. So I thought I was pretty good. Then I moved back to the North Shore of Auckland and started diving my local beaches. Success rate dropped significantly, but a couple of kingfish early on kept me motivated. That was almost 5 years ago, and I still learn more each dive. I want to share what the ocean has taught me. Why you shouldn't dive the North Shore, or maybe you should. Knowledge is power, and I want to give you the power to make an informed decision. All I ask in return is that you respect my home, and think a little more about the future of our oceans. The North Shore is one of the most dynamic and challenging environments you'll find anywhere. It exists right on the precipice between two worlds, the human terrestrial and the untamed ocean. Coastal erosion characterises much of the North Shore's seaward extent, with frequent landslides. It is changing at a rate you can see with your own eyes. There are places with more fish, clearer water, less boats and less trash, but let's not give up on the places that many overlook. Through appreciation comes consideration, and these areas are in need of protection as much as anywhere else. This area is enormously affected by human activity. The constant hum of boat engines sings out to the battalions of trash, littering shallow reefs, fighting for the trickles of sunlight that filter down through the suffocating silt. Fishermen cast out from the rocks, catching the last few fish that will take a bait, and catching plenty of snags, donating monofilament lines in the process, ammunition for the war against Mother Nature. Even as a young lad, I felt a strong connection to this area. Those were different times. I don't remember seeing rubbish, not like I do now. The place I know and love is changing. It is at a crossroads. The potential for improvement and positive change is massive, but the balance is delicate. How much more of our impact can be sustained by the North Shore before it is irreparable? This video aims to address challenges, both ones you encounter diving the area and environmental concerns. I want to start off with an event that almost ended my diving days. One might imagine that the biggest risk while spearfishing is sharks. They would be mistaken. There are mechanical monsters that can kill indiscriminately, propeller blades slicing through the water and rigid hulls, unyielding to any unfortunate person's head. My greatest fear out on the ocean is boats and jet skis. The North Shore is a very popular area for watercraft, in particular, jet skis. I take precautions to not be hit, like using a floatboat with a flag and staying close to it, but even when I do my best, I still occasionally end up in some uncomfortable situations. Diving the reef off of Takapuna last summer, I saw two jet skis heading into shore. The speed was reasonable and I was positioned over the reef in extremely shallow water. Feeling comfortable enough and having seen kingfish in the area, I take a dive. Gradually, a hum builds into a roar as an engine approaches. I move even closer to the shallow rocks and begin ascending, pushing my spear upwards to alert incoming traffic. What happens next is burned into my mind. By the time I'm at the surface gasping for air, the jet ski is already long gone, but his mate isn't.
So your friend on a jet ski, where's he gone? Your friend that was with you, where is he gone? He's gone back that way. Yeah, he almost ran me over just then. Yeah, I put my gun up, he ran straight over the top of me.
Shortly after, I arrive in Milford. Long story short, I confronted him about the incident, and he denied ever seeing me. Even coming up with an anecdote about losing a childhood friend to a jet ski. Not to be overly dramatic, but this event could have killed me. 1 second later, and instead of hitting my spear, the jet ski probably would have hit me in the back of the head. What I fear most in the ocean is not sharks, but intoxicated middle-aged men on motor vehicles who don't know what a 5-knot marker buoy is. Always use a float and a flag. Stay close to it, but don't count on it. One of the environmental challenges faced by the North Shore is trash. Trash, by my definition, is man-made environmental pollutants of a tangible physical nature. Things like plastic drain pipes, bottles, and food packaging are trash in my opinion, and I hate to see them anywhere. When I am diving, a primary goal of mine is to remove trash from the ocean, because it can be inaccessible to most people. I believe that trash can generally exist much longer in the ocean than on land before somebody intervenes and puts it in a more appropriate place. Trash is bad for many reasons, some of which we are only now just beginning to understand. Plastic slowly breaks down over time into smaller particles of artificial petrochemicals. Living organisms have not adapted to process these molecules, and upon entering a biological system, they can persist indefinitely due to the inability to be broken down. Over time, microplastics and other synthetic compounds will accumulate at higher rates in our environment as plastics break down and work their way through the food webs, ultimately towards us, humans. There is no escape. You are already contaminated. So am I. So is the food we eat and all other life we share this planet with. Trash can be found in many places, both terrestrial and marine environments. Certain areas are subjected to more trash due to direct human exposure, or due to trash being transported to an area due to environmental conditions. Many plastics in the ocean may travel large distances with the help of wind, tide, waves, and water currents. Heavier or denser debris like glass, metal, and ceramics are less likely to be transported by environmental factors. There are patterns to observe regarding places that gather greater amounts of plastic trash. For example, looking for places where wind pushes into a bay with a similar swell direction. Winds blowing into an area from the city can transport trash. Certain areas yield large amounts of dense debris, particularly areas that have experienced landslides. Unfortunately, trash can be found 365 days a year, rain or shine, on every phase of moon and tide, unlike most of the fish. However, there is likely correlation with human activities on the beach and water, like in the holidays over summer. There may be a higher rate of litter making into the sea due to more people being at the beach. Windy days could also result in more trash being blown off the land and out to sea, strong offshore winds for example. The best hunting conditions for trash is a well-lit ocean with enough visibility to see the bottom. When the water is clear, trash can easily be spotted from the surface. Most trash is not difficult to remove, just bothersome. Having a float boat or something effective to store trash in is essential to minimizing hassle. Often, if I am diving in an area with a lot of trash, I will shorten my float line, reducing time spent swimming back and forth. When removing fishing lines, it is best to do so from the surface whenever possible, reducing the risk of getting tangled underwater. Because there are so many fishing lines in the area, there is a possibility of getting snagged on the bottom, occasionally. so always keep a knife handy. You lit it, even if you don't think that you do. Not my trash, not my problem. You might think yourself as somebody who does not litter, ever. I thought of myself this way, but the reality is we all make mistakes. Sometimes we forget stuff. Sometimes we might not realise that when we open our car door, a plastic wrapper was caught by the wind. I don't think that anybody does not contribute to the trash problem, even me. I found a lot of clarity in this realisation. Instead of using my time and energy to clean up a problem I had no part in, my mindset could shift towards trying to solve a problem we are all in together. We all contribute and we are all affected. This is a team effort, and we all have to be on board to make a tangible difference. If you see trash while you're out, say walking or diving, do something about it. I don't care if it's not yours, it is ours. Despite so many people living in the area, seeing other divers out here is rare. One major reason, the visibility, or rather, lack thereof. Pick a random spot, a random tide, and a random day on the North Shore, and you're likely to get less than a metre of visibility. Diving in murky water is harder to enjoy, more stressful, and even dangerous. After years of diving here, I can usually find a couple metres of visibility, but it takes careful forecasting and I still get it wrong. Bad weather or rainfall can ruin water clarity for days, and any improvement is easily undone by the next storm. But was it always this bad? No. Before Auckland existed, I bet the Hauraki Gulf had incredible visibility. So, what changed? A lot. Here's why our water is so murky today. Sediment dumping. Expanding Auckland's port has meant dredging and dumping millions of cubic metres of sediment into the Hauraki Gulf. While some of it is now taken further offshore, much of the damage is already done. Stronger regulations and better management are needed to prevent further harm, but restoring lost marine ecosystems is just as critical. Stormwater runoff. Auckland replaced forests and wetlands with roads and houses. Unlike natural ecosystems, these artificial surfaces do not filter water. Instead, rain picks up debris, pollutants, and silt from streets and footpaths, then flushes it straight into storm drains, leading into the ocean. If you wash your car outside with harsh chemicals, that runoff also ends up in the sea. Wastewater overflows. Auckland's water management system is outdated and inadequate. When heavy rain or high usage overwhelms it, raw sewage overflows into the ocean. It happens so often that there is a website dedicated to tracking contamination. That's insane. No one should have to check an app to see if it's safe to swim. Construction runoff. Waterfront development projects destroy entire ecosystems and add even more sediment into the water. Dust, concrete, oil, and heavy metals wash into the Gulf, worsening visibility. The North Shore has seen a boom in large-scale projects, and there are more on the way. Without proper environmental oversight, every new development is another blow to water clarity. Loss of filter feeders. Mussels and other benthic species filter suspended particles, improving water clarity. The Hauraki Gulf used to have 1,500 square kilometres of mussel beds, an area the size of 150,000 rugby fields, but commercial fishing destroyed them. To make trawling easier in the Gulf, boats dragged massive chains along the sea floor, wiping out the mussels. Without these natural filters, the water stays murky. Commercial fishing disturbance. Bottom trawling doesn't just wipe out habitats, it actively stirs up sediment. The Gulf seabed holds silt that should stay settled, but dragging heavy nets through it releases clouds of sediment back into the water column. Even with 27% of the Gulf closed to trawling, most of the area is still fair game. For a country that prides itself on being green, this level of destruction is shameful. Can we fix it? Yes. We can reduce stormwater pollution. upgrade wastewater infrastructure, enforce better regulations on construction, restore mussel beds, and ban bottom trawling in the Gulf. Even tackling just one of these issues would improve visibility. Addressing them all together would be transformational. The North Shore's water is so murky that diving is usually impossible, but it doesn't have to stay that way. If we fight for change, we can bring back the clear waters Auckland once had. The ocean wants to recover. We need to give it a chance. Auckland, an international port, harbouring vessels from all around the globe in our precious Gulf. Unfortunately, these boats can bring stowaways from foreign waters. More often than not, these organisms perish on the journey, or are unable to survive New Zealand's conditions. Rarely, an accidentally introduced species will take root in its newfound home and start to thrive, becoming an exotic pest, competing for the same resources and space as native species. Mediterranean fanworms were first detected in New Zealand around 2008, and have since become quite established in Auckland. There are, however, various species threatening our marine environment. Australian tubeworms are smaller and very prevalent in harbours and waterways. They are much smaller than the tubeworms, but form dense colonies in the thousands and are difficult to remove. They appear to greatly outcompete native species in certain areas. There are also invasive mollusk species, like the Asian paddle crab, and even some of the more simple organisms can get out of hand. For example, Asian kelp, wakame, leathery sea squirts, Asian droplet tunicates, and carpet sea squirts. This is one facet of our marine environment that will have difficult to predict long-term consequences. How far will these creatures spread through our waters? Will they leave anything for the endemic species? Time will tell, but we can give nature more time by removing these species when we encounter them. Not everything man-made that you find will be trash. Occasionally, useful items or cool decorations can be found. Other times, you can stumble across something truly special. Along the North Shore is fairly productive for finding glass bottles and sea glass, but you do need to look carefully. What initially started as just getting these things out of the ocean turned into seeking them out. Beautiful and often enigmatic glimpses into the past. I ponder the journey that these bottles took to get here, though the whole story will never be known, and that is part of the beauty. There are various things to look for in sea glass. The thickness, colour, and presence of air bubbles can all be good indicators of the age. Finding labels that are still readable is relatively rare, but they can provide a lot of insight. One of my favourite pieces in the collection is an ABC bottle dated to 1922, making it comfortably over 100 years old. To think that some geezer was sitting on a boat or a beach or wherever 100 years ago drinking a beer and then me ending up with a bottle is quite the trip. I enjoy collecting these, and they make a nice bonus while trash hunting. While most of what I collect is essentially just rubbish, there have been some interesting finds over the years, from spear guns to fishing rods, anchors, and even inflatable animals. While I would consider the effects of trash to be overwhelmingly negative, some objects do act as shelter and potential habitat for critters. While I find no pleasure in evicting an inflated cushion star, I think that long term, getting things like this out of the ocean is for the better. I think there is huge potential in creating man-made reefs and structures to increase the total real estate available to marine organisms, but this is not that. I would love to one day see my local reefs freed of this scourge of pollution, and it is totally achievable. I know I'm making a difference, because when I dive new spots, I find lots of trash, and when I dive spots I've already been to, I find significantly less. It's simple stuff. Compared to hunting fish, hunting trash is so easy that anybody can do it and make a difference. We need to shift our mindset. What if when we entered the ocean, we asked not, what will we manage to take, but instead, how are we able to give back? It's rather unlike blue, but I haven't really mentioned fish and all of the other stuff, at all, until now. Most people assume it's a total write-off trying to catch anything in the area. Their doubts are not unfounded. It's really tough getting onto the fish here. It is a great challenge, but it is possible. Obviously, I would prefer that people didn't go and catch all the fish off my favourite reefs, so this part of the video is deliberately towards the end. But even if you do try your best, don't get your hopes up. Some people are quite keen to come diving with me, until the viz is 2 meters and they see no fish. It's tough going on the North Shore a lot of the time, but it has its own really special moments, like being vortexed by kingfish, swimming with dolphins, or hand feeding snapper. Many of my most precious memories in the ocean happened on this very coastline that people just guess is desolate. Marine life at stake. Most people write the area off as being pillaged and devoid of life, but there is a wide range of marine organisms that call the North Shore home. Fish are the first group many people think of, but in terms of benthic organisms, I believe that this is where the North Shore really shines. The encrusting life in certain places is so intricate, and there are beautiful sponges. It's really pretty and unique. I lack the vocabulary to fully articulate them, and most species I do not know the name of. Protecting this coastline means protecting everything, not just the fish. It also means getting to enjoy all of it together forever. However, something that I can talk about ad nauseum is fish. So, what fish can you see on the North Shore? Kingfish can be found in a few places, more common in the warmer months. Snapper can be found in many places, but are also more common in the warmer months. Trevally can be found over autumn and winter when they return from feeding and spawning out in the open ocean. These are the hardest fish to hunt on the North Shore. Korori can be found year-round in the shallows, feeding on seaweed and algae, with the only exception being late spring, when the adults head offshore to spawn around the islands. Sweep are commonly mistaken for blue maumau, but are typically smaller and darker in coloration. They are friendly and usually seen mid-water. Spotted wrasse are common just about everywhere, but that's not a complaint. In late summer, the anchovy schools have made their way through the Gulf and bring some excitement to the shore. They stick around through autumn, but you won't see them again for many months after. Jack mackerel are larger and stick around for a longer season. They can be a good indicator for kingfish. Marblefish can occasionally be found amongst the kelp, just like the red Murky. If you stay out there too long and the sun starts going down, you might run across some big eye. During the day, goatfish sift through sediment on the bottom. Eagle rays can be found, but it's very dependent on where you dive. In the springtime, large jellyfish move into the shallows, brought by warm ocean currents. Are the fish safe to eat? Given all of the environmental concerns regarding the Auckland North Shore area, you may be wondering, are the fish safe to eat? I can confidently tell you that I do not know, but I sure hope that they are. Fish living in this area are undoubtedly exposed to pollutants and toxins at levels which fish living in more pristine environments would not be. Eating fish from the North Shore, particularly non-migratory species that do not leave, would surely be a risk at some level, especially shellfish. However, it's important to acknowledge that so many of the things we consume and are exposed to on a daily basis pose similar risks to us. Riddle me this: what is more of a risk to your health? A fish from the Hauraki Gulf that has been contaminated with some level of environmental pollutants, or a genetically modified vegetable exposed to environmental pollutants, then sprayed in pesticides, or steak from a cow exposed to environmental pollutants, fed on corn and soy with accelerated growth from hormonal biotechnology. I don't know what's healthier, but I know what feels right to me. Nothing is perfect anymore, thanks to us. But at least I know exactly where some of my food is coming from. Is it a risk to your health catching and eating fish from the North Shore? Yeah, there probably is some risk, but it feels a lot more healthy than munching on plastic wrapped goy slop from Countdown. You will eat the bugs and you will own nothing. Actionable change. Given everything, it is possible to feel helpless or disheartened, but there is a lot that you can do to build towards a more sustainable future. You have the power to make a huge difference and be an agent for change. Through your own actions and inspiring others, you can achieve great things. Great accomplishments are born of great challenges, and what is more difficult than saving our planet? There are many things you can do to fight against environmental degradation. Picking up litter is simple but goes a long way. The cumulative effect of plastic remaining and breaking down in the ocean is certainly not good, but we can reduce this effect by simply removing it. You don't need to be diving underwater to find trash. Removing pollutants from the beach is just as important. Most rubbish ultimately originates from the land. Everything is connected. We need to address trash at every step of the process. Its abundance in all environments means that we can and will need to work together to tackle this issue. Stop buying fish. In purchasing fish, you are directly funding commercial fishing efforts. Commercial fishing is undoubtedly one of the greatest threats to our ocean globally, and through buying their product, you help put fuel in the boats, and you encourage the pillaging of our oceans. What we have is priceless, and yet we let them sell it to us and the rest of the world. As of the 2021 fishing year, New Zealand's commercial fisheries landed approximately 424,693 tonnes of seafood, and that's not even counting everything thrown back or maimed in the process. You know, pesky critters like whales, seals, albatross and dolphins. If commercial fishing ended in New Zealand, there would be a marine biomass increase of likely well over 500,000 tonnes a year. Support local conservation efforts. Many of the problems facing our ocean originate on land. Restoring wetlands and water catchment areas goes a long way towards slowing down and sequestering sediments on their way to the ocean. Here in Auckland, there are many conservation and restoration groups around. Joining them can be a great way to meet like-minded people and to learn more about the threats relevant to your local area. Given how much the North Shore, the Hauraki Gulf and the ocean as a whole has working against it, fighting for nature and a sustainable future can feel like an insurmountable battle. But we cannot afford to give up on hope. What is worth fighting for if not this? If not our planet, our home, our everything, what is more important than this? This is the fight of our lives, and you're alive at the perfect time to make a huge difference. Mother Nature needs you. Earth needs you. You need to fight for this before it is too late. If we lose the battle to protect our home, nothing else will matter. When forests transform into concrete jungles, when oceans become lifeless soups of sediment, what then? Will you eat plastic and money? I'm not giving up. I never will. Fight with me. Let's make a difference. Let's be the change that we want to see in the world. We have the power to do so much more than you ever thought possible, but we have to start somewhere. Change won't happen overnight. Decades, centuries of destruction will not be fixed overnight, but it has to start somewhere. This is a turning point. This is where we turn the tide. Or not. Or we continue down the same wretched path laid out by those who came before us. I will fight to the bitter end before I walk blinded by greed, and I will never sell out. At the end of the day, what is more important? Money, mansions, muscle cars, and metropolises, or forest reefs, connection and clean air? You take nothing to the grave, but what will you be buried beneath? Concrete or a tree? Are you willing to fight with me? Are you willing to fight to save the world? Note from the author. Thank you for watching my video. I hope that you felt something. However, due to the complexity of our interactions with the natural world, this video only scratches the surface of many issues. There is more to be said, and the story is still unfolding. Between diving, filming, researching, scripting, editing, and recording voiceovers, this video has taken a lot of time, but I think the message makes the labour of love worthwhile. I have made a lot of bad videos in the past, so it's important to me that each new project aspires to be something that I can be proud of. Something that provides value and promotes positive practices. I have poured my heart and soul into a digital distillation. This video is a part of me, and I give it to you asking for nothing in return. At least for me, I just want you to care more about the ocean. I am not trying to sell you anything. Accept ideas, and I don't even want you to buy them. Rather, buy into them. To date, content creation has only ever lost me money. Cameras, computers, software, missions, it all adds up, and ads do not. Disregarding fiscal costs, I have invested hundreds if not thousands of hours into making videos. I don't make videos for money. I don't make videos for clout. I make videos to share ideas. A vessel for my thoughts as I am a vessel for water. I don't ask for anybody to like or subscribe. I don't ask for your money or your loyalty or even your agreement. All I ask is that you think about what I have to say, because I pour myself wholeheartedly into this medium in hopes of being heard. Thanks for watching. This episode's sustainability message is the whole video.